Hi, welcome back, or welcome, I suppose. I think we should just get right back into it. I don't think there's much time prattling about. There isn't much new happening with the channel. So, let's get right into it. We're going to be reviewing, as you've already read, in the title, we're going to be reviewing Wickerlight and Anything Could Happen. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, first up we have Wickerlight by Mary Watson. We're not going to go over it. We're not going to go over the Wicked Light thing again. We're just not. So, when I first looked at this, I thought it was a sort of murder mystery kind of thing. If not murder mystery, kind of, you know, a crime book with some folktale magic stuff in there. That's my notes trying to fall off. Appreciate that. It's not that at all. It's definitely folktale stuff, but it's not really a murder mystery. So, to summarize it, basically, a young girl named Layla has passed away. Her family is sort of an outsider in a village where there are two magic factions. It's sort of difficult to explain without really going into depth, but the book goes into depth in it enough. But you've sort of got two magic factions kind of thing. You've got the small family who don't come from this village in Ireland, by the way. It is important. And basically this young girl winds up dead, and her younger sister tries to figure out what happened to her, which is why I thought it was kind of a crime murder mystery thing, but it's sort of not. The fact that she is kind of sort of solving a crime is incidental. There's no police procedural kind of stuff or anything like that. Let's get into the review. So, one of the most important things about this book is magic, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Do not take a shot every time I say the words magic or folktale, because I get a feeling I'm going to use them a lot, and, you know, maybe a little sip of water every time I do. I'm not going to do that, because inevitably the drinking sounds will be gross, and I can't be bothered trying to edit them out. So, yeah, it's a really interesting way that magic is explored, because from what I can tell, it's really intrinsically tied to sort of old Irish, I don't know if you call it druidism or druidry or something like that, but given the sort of frequent use of Gaelic and what words are used, it is intrinsically tied to sort of old magic, and I always find that sort of stuff really fascinating. Also, thank you to Mary Watson for the glossary and pronunciation guide in the back. I don't have much knowledge on how to pronounce many Irish words. My knowledge is some names, a couple of which do appear in the book, things like Ashling or Oisin, and I'm sure I'm saying them wrong. But yeah, she has a pronunciation guide for a lot of the sort of Gaelic words that aren't linked to the magic system, and I really appreciate that. It's nice. It's not necessarily, I didn't find it straight away. I was sort of trying to find out how many words there were at one point. Not words, how many pages there are at one point, to see how much I need to read a day to get this out in time. And yeah, I happened upon the glossary at the back, so there's a little pronunciation guide next to it, and I was just like, oh, beautiful. 10 out of 10. I think one of my favourite things about the way she uses the magic system in this is that it's a case of magic has consequences. I don't really enjoy as much when it's a case of this is just a magician, basically. And I don't mean sleight of hand type stuff, because that can be fun, but where it's basically, yeah, this, I'll use broad terms, like, hi, this wizard can use fire powers, and there's no consequence for that. There's no, like, emotional consequence, physical toll, anything like that. Whereas in this, but magic is something that you have to earn in some way, and often that is not a good thing. Magic is something to be used sparingly and carefully, and I always think that's the right way to do it. It makes things more interesting. It makes everything feel earned, I think, and I just think that's wonderful. And Watson hits the nail on the head with it perfectly. I think I should point out that, I maybe should have put this earlier, that this is a YA book, a young adult book, and I'm not the type of person to use the phrase young adult fiction as a derogatory term. Yeah, like, YA books are often full of things like tropes that get dull after a while, but, like, name me a classification or a genre that isn't full of tropes. And, like, not all YA books. But it's true, like, I think people, for a start, people think that young adult fiction is a genre in itself. It's not. It's like, it's not romance or sci-fi or fantasy or detective fiction or anything like that. All of those genres exist within YA fiction. It's a classification, not a genre. And while, yeah, there are a lot of books with constant use of icky tropes, it is not difficult to find books that don't. And quite frankly, it's not, most of the time when tropes are used, it's not that they are being used in books, it's how. Like, for example, within this book, there's that whole, oh, look at my broken boy and how I love him. There is a little bit of that. You know, I think there is a line in it of literally saying, oh, he's so broken, but I could kiss him, or something like that. And it's just like, ooh, ooh. I didn't like that line, but on the whole, it's treated well, because it doesn't delve into the it doesn't delve into the kind of, he's so broken, but I love him, and that makes him better. He has no trauma because I kissed him. Like, stop it. Just stop it. I hate it when books use that. I read After, for my Bad Reputation book club series, and that was rough. Like, that uses that trope really badly. And the issue is, the books that get turned into films most often, like After, for example, yeah, they are the ones that often contain the most tropes because they're popular. Because at the end of the day, books are fantasies, and sometimes the idea that you can go, oh, look at this soft little being and I can make him all better, and it's like, you're not that special, sis. But, like, it is what it is. But yeah, this book avoids tropes well, and doesn't feel like it's intentionally avoiding tropes, because that often leads into the path of falling into other ones, but this works with it really well. Do not disparage a book just because it's young adult fiction. This book is really good, and it also doesn't feel patronising in any way. This, you know, the main character, I think she's 17, and not the girl that died, her younger sister, who's trying to, you know, uncover what happened to the girl, Zara, she's called. She feels like a 17-year-old. She does not feel like an adult going, ah, yes, here is what I remember from my youth. This is what a 17-year-old of current year looks like. She's just a human being at the end of the day, and the sort of young characteristics is the occasional being a bit too headstrong, which often you do get in younger people. I'm not that older than that now, but, like, yeah, there's a lot more willingness to do something a little bit stupid, but, like, it works well. And the writing itself doesn't feel patronising. Obviously, it being aimed at, like, young adult is what, like, 15 to 18, I think, is actual, although it wouldn't be that, but I think in terms of, I don't know what the age brackets are for young adult fiction, but I would say maybe about the age she is, about 17, right? It does not feel patronising in the way that some books do, and I appreciate that. God, don't ever watch through my videos and take a shot every time I say appreciate as well. I need to get a thesaurus when I'm recording videos sometimes, I think. I think this book's brilliant, frankly. I do. It is a really enjoyable time, and really quite heartbreaking in a lot of moments, I found myself on the verge of tears, definitely not actually crying at any point. Oh, I did. I always do. And there were some brilliantly tense moments. There is a final standoff, and I'm not going to go into details with it, but the tension is just, oh, you just, I could feel myself like lurching forward, just like, I need to get through it, I need to get through it. And not like I wanted to skip through it, it's just, I need to know what happens next, I need to know what happens next. And then when it pays off, it's just perfect, beautiful. You love to see it. So, yeah, 100% recommend this. It is a phenomenal book. It, for all ages as well, kind of thing. Well, you know, not really young readers, but I would not be averse to a younger teen reading this kind of thing, or an older adult, you know. Like, it's like Lego. It only goes up to 99, and if you're 100, you're not allowed to read it anymore. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's a great book, and I borrowed it from the library, which is always... I didn't borrow it. I was sort of given it in the best of the 6 of the best series, but you know what I mean? It's a library find, and joys of the libraries, I suppose, is you can always find things that you wouldn't expect. If you do read this, let me know, and I hope you enjoy it. Next up, we have Anything Could Happen by Lucy Diamond. This is the book that I got delivered to me last week, and I was like umming and ahhing about should I put it on the shelf and should I read it straight away because I've just ordered it, and I'm so glad that I read it straight away. I mean, spoiler alert, but Lucy Diamond's blown it out the water again. She always does. She's never let me down. So, Anything Could Happen is about a young woman called Eliza. She's not long turned 18. She's about to go to university, and after some biology classes, she is trying to figure out who her father is. Well, that's not quite true. She has been told that it was a guy that walked out on them when she was young, and she thinks he's a waste of space, or this or that. But it turns out that's not her dad, and the reason he walked out is because he found out that he wasn't her dad. Because he found out he's infertile, so Eliza couldn't have been his. That's not a spoiler, by the way, that is very early in the book. That is, you know, the thing that pushes the rest of it, kind of thing, you know. Call to action, as it were. And her mum, Laura, has to sit down and explain it to her. On a whim, Eliza decides, you know, after tracking him down through, I think, social media, she finds her real dad, and on a whim, heads down to Cambridge. But there's some issues with that, with a car and all that, and her mum has to come pick her up. And they decide to go together, track down her real dad, and the whole story goes from there about them trying to reconnect as a whole, trying to reconnect and connect for the first time. With Eliza, it's discovering that, not discovering that she has a dad, but it's more Ben discovering he has a daughter, and Eliza discovering that she has a father who sort of cares and is ready to be there for her. And in the case of Laura and Ben, it's a case of rekindling something. While they only knew each other for a remarkably short time, they had a real spark. They were so sure of it, and it's tricky, but with the two of them, but there's a lot to overcome. There is just something about the way Lucy Diamond writes that just, oh, it gets me in every single time. She's got such a way of creating these little worlds that you just get to dip into. I mean, she's a realism fiction author. She's not creating worlds like a sort of Tolkien kind of thing, but I mean that her own little worlds, kind of characters' worlds kind of thing, and you feel like a fly on the wall getting to sit and watch, and it's just so... like, you get so invested so quickly, and I don't know how she does it. I just think it's so wonderful. Well, I kind of know how she does it. She creates brilliant characters and brilliant plot lines, but like that. That's how quickly you're into it, and it's just, oh, I love it. I love it so much. I think with this book in particular, one of my favourite things she does is how she uses perspective. Similar to what I was talking about with Crybaby, it's all third person, but with shifting sort of focused perspectives. And the way she uses dramatic irony is so good, because it'll be the shift at just the right time in a chapter to see how somebody is getting mixed up and it's a little bit farcical, and it's so great because it's so tense, and not in an uncomfortable way, but like there is a feeling of, oh, but if you just no, but like you just need to talk, you just need to say something, wait, that's not what they meant. And it's so perfectly done that you've got these little bits of rising tension, and then there's just the satisfying release, like you feel your body just going and it's nice. And she does that so well in a way that she manages to do that a couple of times. She does it perfectly, and I think that is incredible skill. Similarly, she has a couple of little twists in it. Nothing major, really. Nothing that's like a M. Night, I'm not going to try it sort of plotline where you're like, oh, that came from out of nowhere. And, well, new M. Night films anyway. Some of his older stuff is obviously good, but like... Anyway, yeah, there are these little twists and you're just like, oh, and then it sinks in and you just like, you get that tension again, and it's just like, oh, everything is done. It's just so well. It's crafted. It feels so well crafted, and yeah, that's all part of the writing process, but you can tell that so much attention has been paid to this, and I just think that's great. I think it's neat. I think her real strength, though, in every book of hers that I've read, is her characters, because she knows how to write well-rounded characters that you love without feeling like you're being forced to love them. And the only way I can explain this is if you do read a lot of commercial fiction or romance in general, that you get that kind of, no, this character isn't perfect. She is just like you because she's clumsy or something. Like, this character is perfect, but she has this one special little quirk. That's not how Lucy Diamond writes at all. And what she does is she creates characters that aren't all positive, with little things that make them not the person you think they are. Ooh, intrigue. It's like, no, they're just people. Like, these people could exist very easily. And they are interesting in a way that's so... Oh, I don't know how to say this without sounding rude. They are interesting in a way that's so basic. And I mean that as a positive. These people don't have interesting lives in that way that you're trying to keep inventing highfalutin kind of things about them. It's like, no, this is a human being who, you know, we have a single mum who effectively had a one-night stand, which resulted in a child. This is a kid trying to figure out who she is, and also figure out what the hell's going on in her life. She's about to go to university. She's trying to figure out who she is, who her family is. And, you know, this guy is having marriage troubles and is then sort of, you know, wrapped up in all of this, finding out he's got a daughter who's 18. She's an adult now. You know, that these are mundane problems that feel so big when Lucy Diamond writes them, and I just think that's so special. I just think the way she writes normal people is incredible, because that's a skill, to make normal people seem so significant. And I think that's the reason I love her work so much. If it's not clear already, yes, I obviously recommend that you go out there and get this book. I don't particularly have a bad word to say about it. I love this book. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think I'll definitely come back to it in the future, because her books are so easy to come back to. I have one of her books, A Year of Taking Chances, on audio, and occasionally if I need something on, especially while I'm working with my regular job, when I'm at work there, sometimes it's nice just an audio book, and her books are so easy to have on as, I mean, I don't mean to say like, oh, it's nice background noise, that's not what I mean, but it's something just calm for the most part. Like, it's not to say there isn't, like I said, tension, or there isn't conflict or anything like that. It's just, I can listen to it and feel safe. Her books feel safe, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, let's get on to next week. First up, we have the box, because I haven't bought a book this week, so I need to remember how to open it. This way, the box with all the world's worst ASMR. Just, I tried to think what my face looked like when I was doing that. Anyway, let's pull a name out of the box. We have Broken Window. I think that is my Jeffrey Deaver book, which I can't even remember when I bought that. We have, I mean, this is literally dusty, and I don't even know why. Well, I think this has had a little bit of water damage. I hope that's okay. So when did this book come out? This book came out in 2009. Now, I've not had this book that long, but that is... Actually, no, this book I think came out in 2008. I think I was reading this edition. Oh no, it says copyright Jeffrey Deaver 2008. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Paperback, first 2009, but originally published in the UK in 2008. So this book is now 15 years old. Don't like that. Let's not think about that. I've not had this book that long. I would say maybe 2015, 16, something like that. I probably got it while I was in college. But all the same, I mean, maybe I have had it. No, because I wouldn't have got this before I was in secondary school. Doesn't matter. All the same, this book has been sitting on my shelf for a ridiculous amount of time. And this is one of the reasons, books like this that I know have been sat on my shelf for an ungodly amount of time, where I've just gone, oh my god, why haven't I read this? This seems interesting. It's a very short thing on the back, actually, so I'm just going to read it. So, he is watching you. He knows you better than you know yourself, and he is using his knowledge to plan your death. But you are not his only victim. He is also watching your killer. He is about to get away with the perfect murder. I mean, I can see exactly why I picked this up. That sounds intriguing. Sounds interesting. Why wouldn't I read that? I don't know. Ask me, God knows how many years ago, why they put it on my shelf and never picked it up. This is part of a series by Jeffrey Deaver. His Lincoln Rhyme series. I assume that's his sort of detective sort of thing. You know, in the way that Matt Billingham has Tom Thorne, Jeffrey Deaver has Lincoln Rhyme. I also need to see which of the 6 of the best I want to read. Now, before I get into that, what I will say is there might only, because this is quite a hefty book, I think there's about 500 pages, Let's check without seeing if I get spoilers. I don't want spoilers. Author's note. So, yeah, there's just over 500 pages in this. No matter what I pick there, that's going to be 300 to 400 pages long. There'll definitely be one review next week of whatever I pick from 6 of the best, because it'll probably be a shorter one. This might come in 2 weeks, because like I said, I'm not the world's fastest reader. I'm definitely not reading The Doll Maker this week, which is the awful, magic, kind of creepy, definitely got some uncanny valley. When I say awful, I don't mean awful as in, this book's gonna be bad. I mean, it's gonna make me feel, ooh, ooh. I think when I first was going through this, I compared it to Coraline, was the vibes I was getting, and I don't think, when I'm trying to read some crime, some stalkery crime, I also need this kind of horror in my life. But then again, the next option would be Cherry, which, you know, again, maybe not the time to be reading some PTSD dealing with the Iraq War. Yeah. Maybe not. So I think one of the other two, we either have Baba Yaga content, or we have kind of, again, the one where I was like, oh, this seems a bit like Neverwhere kind of thing. And I think it seems like both of these feel like they might be for slightly younger readers, and by that I mean teen to young adult. And I think that's exactly what I need, something that's a little bit easier to read. There's going to be some buzzing for the last half of this video. I'm going to try and wrap up because either someone's washing up downstairs or they've just put the heater on and the boiler is in my room. So there's that. Let's wrap up now. So definitely next week we will be reading Where the World Turns Wild by Nicola Penfold, and maybe we will have The Broken Window by Jeffrey Deaver, or that will be the week after. I hope you enjoy your day, or you have enjoyed your day if you're watching this a little bit later on. Have a great time. Yeah.